So, friends, as Donald Trump is dragging the American people to the edge of the constitutional crisis cliff in the Abrego Garcia case, he delivers a new threat to the American people, saying that he would like to ship, quote, homegrown, close quote, American citizens to prisons in foreign lands. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, we already know Donald Trump is always pushing the lawless envelope. His latest criminal scheme that he just vomited out in the Oval Office and spewed into the public square? Sending American citizens to prisons in foreign lands. The problem is, he can't. Not lawfully. I know. But let's start with the new reporting. This from NBC News. Headline, obviously illegal. Experts pan Trump's plan to deport homegrown criminals. And that article begins, if an immigrant who the government claims is a gang member can be deported to El Salvador without any due process rights, then why not a U.S. citizen? That was the nightmarish scenario immigration advocates and constitutional law experts were considering on Monday after President Donald Trump again pushed the provocative plan to deport U.S. citizens who have been convicted of unspecified crimes. Trump discussed the issue in the White House with El Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele, who has agreed to deposit people deported from the U.S. into a notorious prison. This from Trump, quote, we always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not even looking, that are absolute monsters. Trump told reporters, I'd like to include them. Last week, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Trump was interested in deporting heinous violent criminals who are U.S. citizens to El Salvador if there's a legal pathway to do that. During Monday's White House meeting, Trump said that Attorney General Pam Bondi is studying the law. Quote, it is pretty obviously illegal and unconstitutional, said Ilya Soman, a professor at George Mason University's Antonin Scalia Law School. Immigration law that gives the government the authority to deport people simply does not apply to U.S. citizens, noted Emma Winger, a lawyer at the American Immigration Council, a nonprofit advocacy group. Anthony Krice, a professor at Georgia State University College of Law, noted that the British policy of removing certain alleged criminals from colonies to be put on trial elsewhere was one of the grievances during the lead-up to the American Revolution. Quote, I can't see how exiling someone is permissible as part of the bundle of rights that are fundamental to citizenship. Doubly so if the effort to house American citizens overseas means turning a person over to a foreign authority, he said. David Beyer, an immigration expert at the libertarian Cato Institute, said Trump's remarks show how absolutely critical it is for the courts to put an immediate stop to this extrajudicial imprisonment by foreign proxy. Quote, U.S. citizens may not be deported to imprisonment abroad. There is no authority for that in any U.S. law, he added. So friends, expert after expert and scholar after scholar make it crystal clear. You can't deport American citizens to foreign prisons. So Attorney General Bondi, I know Donald Trump tells us that you're studying the law, but you might as well just go ahead and close that law book you're studying from. It's illegal. Now, I know what you're thinking, friends. Anytime you tell Donald Trump that he can't do something because it's illegal, he's likely to say, "Oh, really? Hold my Big Mac." So, friends, we know that the litigation in the Abrego Garcia wrongful deportation case is ongoing, and we know it will inevitably make its way back up to the Supreme Court. You may recall the first Supreme Court opinion in the case, although it was 9-0, was pretty mealy-mouthed, right? It said to the Trump administration, well, you're going to need to facilitate the release and return of Mr. Garcia, but the majority opinion hastened to add that, we don't want the courts to interfere in the Trump administration's authority to engage in foreign policy. Wait a minute. They unconstitutionally and unlawfully snatched up Mr. Garcia, stuffed him on a plane, and deported him to El Salvador, precisely where a judge had ordered the United States may not deport Mr. Garcia to. And all they have to do is send a plane there, tell the El Salvadoran president who we are paying to house Garcia, so we are, by extension, imprisoning Garcia down there because we're paying for it. We just have to say, give us Garcia back. We made a mistake. We've admitted in court we made a mistake, and Garcia is back in the United States. That ain't the practice of foreign policy. That's the executive branch making right what they did so desperately wrong in at least 3 different ways. But the Supreme Court opinion, mealy-mouthed as it was, indirect as it was, gives the Trump administration some wiggle room. Well, that will all come to an end when the case makes its way back up to the Supreme Court, which I suspect it will in the coming days. And then the Supreme Court needs to be definitive. You can't kidnap people and send them off to foreign lands and imprison them, pay to imprison them down there. Not immigrants who may be subject to deportation, because you first need to give them their constitutional due process rights of notice and opportunity to be heard so they can make their case in court. And if a judge orders that they are subject to deportation, then they can be deported. And certainly not American citizens. That would be illegal, unlawful, unconstitutional if you tried to do that. And the Supreme Court better put its judicial foot down. And friends, if Donald Trump violates a direct, unambiguous command from the Supreme Court to return Mr. Garcia, then that will be Donald Trump sort of bringing an end to our constitutional construct of government. And then the only thing left to do, impeach and remove. Because justice matters. And friends, by way of a quick postscript, I know what you're saying, but the Republicans in Congress, I know. But we're going to be talking about how pressure can be applied to maybe convince the Republicans in Congress that it's in their own self-interest to impeach and remove. But friends, more on that in future videos. For now, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.